Oi, you know what time it is? You're tuned in listening to Dry That Aussie Metal Guy. Make sure to hit that like and subscribe button so you don't miss any of his content when it drops. And remember, stay brutal, you mad dogs. Roof!
G'day, how you all going? It's Dry That Aussie Metal Guy here with Crank.com and with that metalstation.com. So tonight, wherever you are in the world, it's with great pleasure that I'm getting to have a chat with Brendan Preston of All This Filth, who we done a written one way back in 2019, I believe, for the Misery Season album. Brendan, how have you been, my friend?
Yeah, not too bad, thanks. Not too bad. How about yourself, Jay?
Yeah, I'm good, man. I know it's been a crazy time for you. You were gearing up. You had that Misery Season. Everything was like, fuck yeah, let's drop this album, do a little bit of promo, and the world kind of fucking shut up, man. How have things been progressing for you considering everything that's happened?
Yeah, I mean that was really interesting because we literally dropped the album and then we started doing some tours. Like we did some shows over east in the east coast of Australia, and that was at the start of 2020 because we dropped the album in 2019. Start of 2020, we did New South Wales tour. And that's when the pandemic, like it was March of 2020, the pandemic was just starting to take off. And basically we had to finish off that leg of the tour and then come back to Perth, and then everything went into lockdown from there. So it just like stuffed up all our plans for the foreseeable future at the time. So
yeah, well, it was a bit of a weird time, wasn't it? Because I know you were doing those shows over the East Coast and kind of West Australia on the West Coast. You were kind of still able to have shows and kind of have that little bit of a scene going. So it would have been a kind of a bit of a fucking weird diametric going on considering what was happening over the West, and then over in the East in Melbourne, they were like the most locked down city in the world after it all.
Yeah, we were lucky actually because we did actually get to play some shows and festivals over here actually. Because they shut the border and nobody could get in. We had zero COVID in the state. So we basically for a while got to sort of act like the rest of the world was shut out, and we basically got to live in a little bubble, which was good until everyone got vaccinated and such. And the thing was every time somebody snuck into the state with COVID, they'd lock the whole place down. And that's the way we kept it out. So the trade-off was that we would constantly go in and out of lockdowns for about a week or two, right? Hard lockdown. But the trade-off was that once you got over that week or two, then you could basically just live as normal. So yeah, it was interesting. It was kind of good actually. I was really glad to be from Perth at that stage. So yeah.
Yeah, and I know we did do the written interview, man, but I want to ask, we chatted about the two singles on that Misery Season, man. We didn't get to talk much about the album. What was it like making that album then at that time?
That album came out before all of like COVID and lockdown. It came out in 2019. And so I mean that album was, I mean, I think every album is hard to make personally. There's always trials and tribulations for every single album we've ever done. So it was hard, but like because everyone in the band was going through a lot of personal things, and it was just a lot of hard work. I just remember it being a grind, and we pushed through and we got it done though, and the album came out the way it came out, and we sort of took all that negativity and put it onto an album and then put it out there. And I hoped that like through the lyrics and through my basic idea for that whole album was to take all the negativity in my mind and in my heart and put it onto a CD or album stream, whatever, put it out there, and then hope that somebody somewhere would get something positive out of it. And thankfully that did happen. We got a lot of really good feedback about it, and a lot of people reached out over it. So that was good. That was really good. We got a lot of really good feedback on that album. So yeah, as much of a struggle as it was, it was worth it.
Yeah, it was definitely a great album. I was cranking it a fair bit at the time because not only did we do the written one, that was kind of the album that kind of introduced me to you as well. So I was cranking it at the time, and I ripped it out again when I was like, man, we're going to have a chat. And I did manage to play it a few times on the show as well. And fast forward to now, like start of November, you dropped That Still Bleeds My Heart, man. Tell me about that latest single.
So yeah, we've been writing basically since we dropped the last album, and more intensively once the world went into lockdown and we couldn't tour and such. But this song specifically is sort of about like just basically how fucked up the world is, and all the horrible things that are going on, and the reasons these things are going on, and how we're basically not changing anything to make anything better. And so, I'm talking about COVID. I'm talking about the wars going on, Ukraine, etc., everywhere in Africa, Myanmar, just the horrible things that were caused by human greed and arrogance, and even climate change. The fact that we know there's a problem, but we're just not doing anything about it. It's like, come on, when are we going to wake up? So that's kind of what that single's about. So yeah, we shot a video clip for it and released it and put it out there, and it's got a pretty good response so far.
Yeah, man, it's got a great response on us. Played on the Racket as well, which is really cool. Having that played on Triple J, so it must have been a bit of a buzz having that played over that way. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it was good. Yeah, that was like last week or the week before. It got played on the Racket, and it actually debuted on Andrew Hoag's 24/7 metal radio station.
Yeah.
Andrew Hoag, he did this special debut. So yeah, Hoagie premiered it, and then it's been played on various radio stations, a few radio stations over here and such, and then Triple J played it last week and such. So yeah, it's doing all right, getting some good feedback on it.
Yeah, well, I love internet radio, not only because I'm being on an internet radio station as well, but I feel like stations like that, and especially Hoagie's and the Faction, and stations like ours, we're all about supporting the metal scene as well. And it feels like, to me, for me growing up, it was listening to radio, and you put on Triple J now, and no offense to them, that's cool. You put on the Racket, it's a few hours once a week. You can catch a little bit of heavy metal, where it was more. Now you can go to these internet radio stations that are really supporting the scene, and you catch that compared to, you kind of have that adventure going on, listening to bands going through this, through the genres as well. So.
Yeah, the internet radio, like you said with Hoagie and stuff, it's really cool, because like you said, you get more in depth instead of just 2 or 3 hours a week. You get 24/7 whenever you want to tune in.
Remember when Chuck on Rage, or even like going back to Hoagie when he used to do the show on Triple J, man. I remember listening to him, and some of the bands I'd fucking know, and then some of the bands I wouldn't know. And for me, that was part of the joy of listening to radio, and not only catching bands you love, but hearing other bands and going, man, I really dig that. And then going out and checking it out. Now it's kind of like your Spotify listens and things like that, which it's a weird time.
It is weird. I mean, on one hand, with Spotify and those sort of streaming services, you got more access, right?
Yeah.
But
I understand it, yeah, but
in a weird way, right? It's sort of because they got the algorithms, right? So you end up, I don't know how to put it, but it's sort of like you've got more access to choice, but you almost have less choice, because they're just giving you the same things. That the algorithms are giving people the same things. Say if you listen to one particular type of metal, all of a sudden they're just feeding you all that similar. So you get a lot of similar things. So you'll discover artists that are similar to what you were listening to, but you're not discovering sort of anything outside of that specific genre, that subgenre. And as we know, metal's really broad. And so there's a lot to check out, but I don't think, I think these days, you don't really get it as often. It's kind of like on Netflix. Anytime Netflix releases a TV series, it's all anybody's watching, but it's like, you've got a choice. You could watch anything, but everyone's always watching that because the algorithm's like, hey, you would probably like to watch this. And it's the same with Spotify and such. It's like, listen to this, because you like this, you'll probably like this. So yeah, I mean, there's a good side to it, but the downside is sort of, I think people get fed the same stuff over and over again. So that's just me personally, man. So, whatever.
Oh, yeah. And also people, sometimes I feel like they forget to check out whole albums. You know what I mean? You see some bands that are just releasing stuff for Spotify, and people go over and go, oh, well, that one's got the most listens, and I'll give that a listen, instead of cranking out the whole bloody album as well. Do you feel that too sometimes?
Yeah, I do. I actually think to fully get into a band, it's better to check out an album. Like, obviously, you're going to hear a song first here and there. Like you said, back in the day, you'll see it on Rage or you hear it on the Racket or whatever. And so you hear that one song, but then you go check out the album. But like you said, now these days, everyone's just like, they listen to that song, they're on to the next song, next band, whatever. So yeah, I think it's because music is more disposable these days. There's not that importance on it. Whereas back in the day, I think, if you heard a song, you would go buy the album or whatever. And because you've spent money on it, you would damn well listen to that album and then you really get immersed in the world of that band or that particular artist. And then, that was always good for me to way to get into things. So yeah, but it's different now. I mean, like, people just seem to really dig singles now. So I guess everyone's got shorter attention spans.
Yeah, hence the Still Bleeds My Heart. Everybody's go out and go grab that one. Did you make it through the last couple of years without any lineup changes? I know the last couple of years have been hard on bands and that. How was it for all this filth? Did you get it through all right, or we got any?
Oh yeah, we've had a few lineup changes. Yeah, we had to replace our drummer and such. And yeah, I don't know. We're one of those bands that does tend to go through lineup changes about
A lot of bands do, man. It's hard at this time, especially through what happened the last few years. People definitely reassess where they're at, and especially in the underground scene and here in Australia, unless you're in that top 0.1% of the band, we're all bloody workers as well to try and pay for this. So people go, man, I want to be in this band. And then they go, well, you got to do all this fucking work. And sometimes it's like, well, I got to juggle a job and I got to juggle family, I juggle a kid, and I got to do this. And sometimes it doesn't work out. And that's just how it is.
Yeah, we've definitely had that where people's priorities change. Someone has a kid or someone buys a house and they're like, I can't afford to go on tour. I can't afford to record. You know what I mean? And it's like, well, we sort of need to. And yeah, the conflict happens, and then you're forced to change lineups. It's sad, but yeah, it happens. We are not immune to that. So yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so 2022, man, it's been a pretty big year. I know you played a whole stack of shows and there's been some killer highlights for you, man. But what are some highlights that have stood out for you thus far through 2022 as we come to the end of the year?
2022 has actually been pretty quiet for us on the live front. I think we've only played 2 live shows all year because we've been in the studio. The last gig we played in November was our good friends in Tempest Rising, another band from over here.
It's a farewell show, was it?
Yeah, it was their farewell show. And that was pretty good. That was really good to be part of because we go way back with those guys from way back in the day. So it was really good to be part of that. So that was my live highlight of the year. But yeah, the highlight probably is finally finishing all the recording for the new release. It's all done. We're just getting it mixed at the moment. So we released the single that's out. You can go view that. You can go listen to it. And then the new material should be out sometime next year. We're just taking care of some business in the background, all the business stuff, behind that sort of stuff, which is really draining and takes it out of you. But it's got to be done. So yeah,
definitely looking forward to it. So new album sometime in 2023. I dare say, Brendan, I'd like to catch up with you that when we can talk a little more about it and all the business stuff is dealt with, bro. And that way you can talk a little bit more about the album.
I would love to tell you more about it right now, but like there's
I understand
a lot of stuff in the edge. You know what I mean? Like there's a lot of stuff we're still sorting through. So because a lot of people don't realize the behind the scenes stuff that goes on. It's kind of that whole tip of the iceberg thing. When you go see a band live or when you see a video clip or whatever, you're only seeing the tip of the iceberg. Nobody realizes the work. Not even just like musically, like rehearsing, practicing, writing. I'm talking about the business stuff you've got to do just to get it out there, to all the people you need to talk to, all the how to get reviews, how to so there's a lot of business stuff, a lot of accounting as well. Nobody gets into music to do accounting, but unless you've got your own team behind you doing that, then you're doing it yourself. You're sitting there like a banker. So. Yeah,
that's kind of what we were talking about before too. People don't realize the amount of work that goes into it. It's not what you you used to think when you were growing up, man, it's all just fucking hookers and blowers. No, it's a lot of fucking hard work, a lot of commitment, and those kind of people don't hang around in the scene for long. It's you're doing this on your own time. You are your own PR, your own manager, your own bloody label half the time, your own, producer, your own recorder. It's a whole lot involved in and a whole lot of bloody time, and that's why it's really important to get along and support your bands. Like, not only are we saying, it's great to get those Spotify listens up, but it's also great when people go buy merch and albums and get along to those shows and really support, because then you go, fuck, okay, we've got all this support. Now we can actually make an album and it's not coming out of my work pay each week. That's another thing we're talking about too, because bands like yourselves are paying for a lot of this too off their own back. So it's merch and that kind of stuff that people do support. And I know if you're watching this, you're supporting all this filth. All the money goes into a fucking, guys like yourself put it into fun that goes into making the next fucking album. It's not like you're sitting there getting rich off of this, man. It's making the new material, making funds, working towards making more material, because that's what you're doing it for.
I can basically tell you categorically that every cent we've ever made has gone back into the
I know.
band.
I know.
I've never seen any sort of personal profit from this. It's either when we sell merch, it goes back into the next batch of merch or to the next recording, to the next.
Maybe to get a hot dog to cut 5 ways for you and the band after the show. You know what I mean?
To get to the next show, you know what I mean? Like, or accommodation or whatever. It's all going back into the band, and then on top of that, we're putting our own personal funds into it as well, because we're not at a level where we can fund it purely on what we're making. So we're using band funds, but we're also using our own funds. Like you said, it's our own money that we're out there with our day jobs, whatever your day job is, and trying to fund this, trying to keep the dream alive. You know what I mean?
So that being said, where's the best place people can get along and support all this filth and you guys?
Well, I reckon our website, it's allthisfilth.com, because it's got our web store on it and stuff. It's got, like, you can keep up to date, and it has a link to all our socials and stuff. Like, definitely hit us up on the socials as well. But if you want to go buy merch, like, it's allthisfilth.com. We got a merch store there, and that would be just dandy if you could support the band, because it really helps in it, and we appreciate it, because I personally send out all the merch myself. I'm like the merch store guy, so like as soon as we get an order and I'm down in the post office sending it out and stuff. So, and
the social media guy and the everything else guy. Yeah.
I got to get back. I'm back more involved in the social media. I've been a bit busy of late, but there was a couple of us running the social media for a while, but it's got a bit quiet the last couple of weeks. But I'll get back onto it.
That's another thing you got to juggle as well on top of everything else you're doing these days. Still bleeds my heart, man. It's an absolutely ripping track. Everybody needs to grab it, put it in the stereos, crank it up really loud. Looking forward to 2023, Brendan. We will catch up again, talk more about the album when it's closer to release. Do you have any last words, shout outs, thank yous, or anything else you'd like to add in there, my friend?
I just want to thank you for supporting local metal and supporting us over the years and such. And I want to send a massive shout out to anyone who's part of our crew, like our manager and whatever, and also most to the fans. Like, biggest shout out to the fans, because our fans, the ATF crew, by far, in my opinion, some of the best fans that are in Australia or possibly even the world. They're so dedicated, they're so loyal. They show up, they know the words, they're like repping the shirts and wearing all the merch. And we love you guys. So stick with us. And next year we'll have some new stuff for you all. And thank you for all the support.
Killer. All this filth, put it in the stereos, crank it up. Cheers, guys.
Cheers, man.
Oi, you're tuned in to Jai That Aussie Metal Guy, so make sure to hit that like and subscribe button so you don't miss any of his sick content. And remember, stay brutal, you legend.